Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Bennett Tchaikovsky. Hello, and this is how Irvine Valley College can assist you in meeting the requirements to sit for the CPA exam and also to meet the California Board of Accountancy's educational requirement. This is part one, or my introduction. My disclaimer and copyright notice. The information and opinions in this presentation are those of the author only and not the author's employers or affiliated organizations, including but not limited to Irvine Valley College and the South Orange County Community College District. The presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute any legal or accounting advice whatsoever. This presentation is designed to assist students and CPA candidates with determining their educational requirement, basically for the state of California via the California Board of Accountancy. I will oftentimes refer to certain courses meeting the CPA educational requirements. Note that the California Board of Accountancy is the ultimate authority in terms of whether or not a certain course meets the CBA, the California Board of Accountancy educational requirements. So obviously, a lot of you are here for different reasons. The one thing I will say, though, is that IVC, and if IVC can't help you with your educational requirement needs, I will point you into like another direction. But the most important thing is that you're here, you want to become a CPA, which is awesome. When I teach, teaching the class is okay, but what's much more exciting is to see my former students become actively licensed CPAs. So let's get to it. Now, the first thing is I want to preface this, is that the CPA exam is going to change. And I'm going to put this link down below. But as you can see right over here, this is the current exam. And so you've got over here the core of auditing, attestation, FAR, regulation. Now, when it comes to BEC is going to see the big change. That particular test, you're going to choose one particular discipline. So in my talking with some of the review course individuals, they're recommending that you get BEC out of the way now before it changes. Why? Because you know what's coming. Okay, it's not necessarily the end of the world if you're taking it in 2024. It's just that you may want to wait so that the CPA courses can kind of go through and adopt. So let's get to it. So this is kind of how I'm going to set up this. This is the overview. What you want to kind of go through and do in terms of figuring out what classes you need to take, choosing which courses to take, and that pass, no pass, or party, no party option. And then when can you sit for that CPA exam? Okay, so the most important thing is like when it comes to, educate your accounting education is it's all about, if you're transferring, or if you're beginning your studies for the CPA exam, how strong was your financial accounting education? And the reason why is that one of the things that I've been noticing in terms of monitoring a lot of the, the Facebook pages for Becker is that one of the very common comments by students is they say they don't feel prepared. And that also true kind of echoed in my intermediate accounting class that I just finished teaching for Cal State Fullerton in the spring. Started with about 45 students, 28 ended up getting a grade, and about 17 students dropped out. When a student drops out of my class, I'm always curious as to why. And the reason why I'm curious is because I want to know how I can make my class better so it doesn't happen. But it happens, and the overwhelming response was because of the online education, because of COVID, that screwed up a lot of students in terms of how they were going through and learning financial accounting. I am someone who strongly believes in that you should be going through and practicing and writing it out, physically writing it out, because accounting is a skill, and if you don't write it out, it's going to be harder to learn. So again, and if your accounting education is not strong, that's okay. You just need to recognize that and just know that you're going to have to put some additional work in. Now, one of the other things too is that, some classes can take longer than others. When you're taking accounting classes, we have classes at Irvine Valley College that will count as accounting subjects in California. And when you look at this, it's kind of like, well, in terms of accounting subjects, if I take a class in QuickBooks, that may satisfy an educational requirement in California, but it's not going to serve as direct preparation for the CPA exam. And I'll touch on that in a later video. Also, too, the requirements educationally to become a CPA are pretty significant, right? And this is a sheet that I'm going to also provide you a link to, but you need to have a bachelor's degree and 30 semester units. To sit for the exam, you need to have these two down. But when you kind of look at this, if you were, say, like an English major when you were an undergraduate, you're going to be spending a lot more time in terms of trying to go through and satisfy most of these units. So if you alternatively, if say you were not, if I was not an English major, but if instead I was a business major as an undergraduate student, then it's going to be a lot easier, a math major. And the reason is because if you look at this up here, if I took like 40 semester units of math, this is going to basically cover both of almost like the majority of both of these areas. So again, it just kind of depends on where you are in your education, but that's why like that assessment is so important. And if I can help you out with that, I'm more than willing to do so. Okay, so I kind of going back over here when we are going through, and I'll cover this like in the other parts. And the other part of this is because this is so onerous, something that a lot of people don't think about is potentially becoming an enrolled agent. What is an enrolled agent? Well, you can practice in front of the IRS, you can file tax returns, and it's pretty much almost everything that a CPA can do. And so if your goal is to be doing taxes, I would look at becoming an enrolled agent, and solely for the reason why the enrolled agent does not have any kind of an educational requirement. Rather, what it's going to basically do is, can you pass that special enrolled agent's exam? That's what it is. Now, in terms of a master's degree, I've had a lot of students who will come to me and say, oh, I need to get a master's in accounting. And the answer to that is, I really only recommend a master's degree in very specific circumstances because it's a lot of money. Like if you go to a 4-year school and say, even if you get a master's degree for 30 grand, you're going to probably pay at least another 30 grand for living. If you're not working during that time, that means 60 grand pre-tax and debt. It's going to take you some time to pay it off. So what I would really kind of say to you is that if you have your bachelor's already, what I would do is I would, take your classes at a community college, hopefully at IVC, get your classes done, and then pass the CPA exam, work for a little bit, and then kind of see what happens from there. Now, if your goal is to say, Bennett, I want to go to a Big Four accounting firm, and you want to go there immediately. If that is in fact the case, then a master's degree may make sense, just because coming from a community college, I have had a lot of success placing my students at firms, right? I can make the introductions, but the students are the ones who make it happen. I have had success with that, but it generally has not been Big Four. If your ultimate goal is a Big Four and you want to start out at a smaller firm, guess what? About 80% of the people, and again, I'm approximating, that start at Big Four firms are gone after 3 years. So who's going to fill that up? Well, the Big Four firms like to poach from the smaller firms, much to the chagrin of the smaller firms, but that's something that kind of goes through and happens. The master's degree that I would go through and recommend, data science or data analytics or taxation. But both of those, I would really encourage you to get your CPA license first. Remember, becoming a certified public accountant is going to give you a ton of different opportunities. It's going to be with you for life as long as you don't do anything crazy with it. And that's really why I consider that to be, getting your license first is probably the most important thing you can do. Okay, so, and as I was mentioning before, depending on what your major was in undergrad, this is going to take longer or shorter, just depending on, on where you are. Do you need overpowering math skills, or can you get by with algebra? The answer is you can generally just get by with very basic algebra. although familiar, and if you like the numbers, like to cuddle them, pet them, it's like what is it, Tamagotchi, where you're like feeding it all the time. Yeah, that's fine. I think that if you have good algebra skills, I think that that's really the most important thing. And just to kind of echo this again, why do you want to become a certified public accountant? And I can tell you countless stories of former students who've been working, even having their MBA, but they work in a controller position, and their experience is not going to be recognized without the license. At some point in time, your work experience does not become recognized without the license. And the other thing, why do people want to hire CPAs? If a CPA does something wrong, not only are they going to get fired, but they're probably going to lose their license. And trust me, you do not want to lose your license. It's not worth it. And just kind of going back over here, I'm just trying to think if there was anything else. Yeah, that's really kind of like going through in terms of that's kind of the basics. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. So thank you for joining me here today. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any feedback, please feel free to either leave a comment below, or you can send me email to 1812cpa@gmail.com. Thank you so much for being with me here today.